All right, now we're going to go to Roger Hickey. He is with Healthcare for America Now. He's also the co-director of Campaign for America's Future. Roger, welcome to the Young Turks.
Hi, guys. How are you doing?
We're good, thank you. I wanted to ask you about, well, let's start with your feelings about the speech that's coming up tonight. Are you optimistic that the president is going to draw a bright line, and are you for the public option, or do you think he's going to negotiate it away eventually?
Listen, I think that the president has heard from about 3 million people in the last couple of weeks saying that we absolutely insist on a public option and an affordable health care plan so that people who are literally going to be forced to buy health insurance by this reform are able to find affordable health insurance. So I think that he is going to talk about that very problem, that the insurance companies this very problem is caused in part by the insurance companies jacking up their rates, charging whatever the traffic will bear. I'm very optimistic that he is going to call for a strong public option as a choice for people, and
well,
and
look, Roger, calling for it and speaking about it is, I don't want to say it's irrelevant. It's important, and especially if he says the right words, it will mean he'll act on it. But the real test is whether he insists on it. And I haven't seen. I don't know why you guys are so optimistic. I mean, we had Representative Schakowsky on. She was optimistic. You're optimistic. So I'm asking a literal question. What do you know that I don't know that leads you to be optimistic about him insisting on a public option?
Listen, the only thing that I know that causes me to be optimistic is that the White House understands the massive movement for healthcare reform in this country is demanding a public option and demanding affordable health insurance for everybody. Yes, it's always possible that he may decide that he doesn't have the votes, especially in the U.S. Senate. But I'm hoping that he's going to declare that he's shifting gears and becoming a leader. That means acting more like Lyndon Johnson and twisting arms and moving the debate forward. That's the way they're billing this speech before Congress. Enough of the waiting for Bacchus to figure out what he's doing, and I think he's going to emphasize the 4 bills that have already been passed in the Congress, and the 3 committees in the House, and the 1 in the Senate, all have a strong public plan.
Well, I agree with you that would be great. That would be we hoping that he goes in that direction. So, Roger, can I ask, what's your position at Healthcare for America Now?
I'm on the steering committee. It's about 20 people who run the organization, and it's a big coalition,
right.
1,000 organizations.
My understanding is that Healthcare for America Now had about $45 million to spend on this effort. And I'm going to be very frank with you. I think that we did not get the desired results, because in August the president lost approval rating, certainly on health care reform across the board, and there's polls out showing that half the American population, on 3/4 of the nonsense myths that the Republicans put out, believe it. So it was not very effective in beating back those swift voting and the myths. Am I seeing something wrong? Are the polls wrong? Or are you worried about how that program went for Healthcare for America Now?
You're right that the president's ratings on how he led in the last several months on healthcare have declined. That's true. But in terms of the absolutely latest polls, if you ask people, should everyone in America have the choice, if they're buying insurance, of a public insurance plan as an option, overwhelming numbers, 60-70% of the American people say yes. So he hasn't lost the American people. We, HCAN, the 1,000 organizations that comprise HCAN, spent the last year getting members of Congress signed on to our principles on health care. We had the town meetings when nobody else was having town meetings. And we got half the Congress and close to 50 of the members of the Senate signed on to our statement of principles that include a strong public plan and affordable health care. It's absolutely true that the conservatives learned to turn people out over the summer, the beginning part of the summer. But I think ask any member of Congress. Those meetings got better through August and later into the summer because advocates of health insurance reform turned out in large numbers.
When you say you have them signed on, I want to understand a little bit better. So do you think you have 50 senators who are absolutely signed on for the public option? And what do you mean that they're signed on?
Listen, the U.S. Senate is a hard place. Despite the fact that the 60 say that they are Democratic Party members, you and I both know that many of those senators who ran as Democrats are Democrats in name only. They are careful about things that they sign on to. And you and I know that you can have a senator sign something one day, declare to their constituents that they're for a public plan, and the next day change their mind. Apparently that's been happening with Blanche Lincoln in Arkansas. But what I'm saying to you is that we've done the hard work of knocking on members' doors when they're home in their districts and saying, all right, where do you stand? And what we have is over half the House, and I believe working with Progressive Caucus, there's something like 225 members of the Congress, of the House of Representatives, who say they want a public plan. 60 of them won't vote for something without a public plan. The Senate is a much harder place. The Senate, I believe that the President should say, all right, all senators should vote to override a veto, and then some of them in the Democratic Party can flake off and not vote with the rest of the 50 who are needed if you don't have a filibuster. We've got to stop a filibuster by the conservatives in the U.S. Senate.
Roger, how come nobody's talking about that? I mean, we talk about that on the air all the time, and I've seen, we've talked to Robert Borisage about that from Campaign for America's Future, as you know, your co-director.
Yep.
We've talked to Adam Green from PCCC on it, Jane Hampshire, et cetera, et cetera. But in the media, and partly because the White House doesn't seem to be talking about it, why isn't it much more obvious that you don't even need to do the reconciliation? You just need to make sure the Democrats don't join the Republican filibuster. So why has that not gotten more traction? Is someone at the White House against that idea?
No, I think that the White House hasn't figured out their strategy for the U.S. Senate. So simultaneously, they are negotiating with Olympia Snowe about a public plan with a trigger. It's been widely reported. One of their scenarios is we have to get a Republican to sign on to this bill, and that means water down the bill, in order to get other Democrats to sign on to the bill, either to pass it.
Well, that's a very important point. That's a very important point. So the point of Olympia Snowe isn't getting a single Republican. The point is to give cover to the corporatist or conservative Democrats.
Yes, that's right. They think that it's an important psychological threshold.
So that Ben Nelson and Mary Landrieu, et cetera, can turn around and go, well, Olympia Snowe, even a Republican voted for it.
It's clearly what they're thinking in the White House. It's clearly why they are talking to Olympia Snowe.
Well, that makes sense, but on the other hand, that's also trouble because Olympia Snowe's version has a trigger in it.
That's right.
And so if there's a trigger, what does HCAN do? Do you guys support it in the end, or do you say this is absolutely unacceptable?
Listen, I can't speak for HCAN. It's a big, big coalition. But we at Campaign for America's Future are pushing for the president to pursue a 50-vote strategy after we defeat the filibuster. And we think that when people think about the filibuster, usually used to defeat civil rights bills by racists in the South, it's really important that we go that direction, and we ask every member of the Senate, every Democratic member, vote for the procedure that allows democracy. If you don't want to vote for the bill, that's okay.
All right, Roger, I understand that, and I think that's the right strategy, and I hope somebody at the White House is listening if they want to listen. I've never been convinced that Rahm Emanuel wanted to do any of this, but we'll partly find out, and we'll find out if he's in charge or Obama's in charge. We're talking to Roger Hickey. He is the co-director of Campaign for America's Future, and he's also on the steering committee for Healthcare for America Now. And I want to turn to that one more time. We had Jane Hampshire on the program from Fire Dog Lake yesterday, and I don't know if you've seen what she's written, but she thinks that HCAN, Healthcare for America Now, bent to pressure from the White House because they threaten funding sources. How do you answer that, Roger?
Absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. There's no truth to that at all.
Break it down in two different parts for me. Was there White House pressure? Did Rahm Emanuel come and say, you guys better not pressure the Blue Dog Democrats?
No. There are all kinds of groups within the Healthcare for America Now. Some of them are trying to win over Blue Dog Democrats, and some of them are putting quite a bit of pressure on Blue Dog Democrats. There are different ways to get people's votes, and we're a big coalition. But I would say that we, along with the American people, have gotten this healthcare debate farther than it ever has been in American history. And I think what I would ask your listeners to do is go to our website, ourfuture.org, and sign the petition directly to the White House that says we want healthcare reform with a strong public plan.
So, but Roger, there are reports that Rahm Emanuel did come and threaten funding. I mean, are you saying that didn't happen at all?
I have never been in a meeting anywhere where people from the White House threatened funding. That, as far as I know, has never happened. And you know, if it happened, I don't think it would work. This is a coalition that figures out its positions with a steering committee of pretty smart people, each representing a major institution, labor, citizen groups, etc. And we're pretty independent-minded about what we do. And I think we've listen. I'm not defending HCAN. I'm saying that the American people have really put this issue on the table, and the whole country is debating things like a public insurance option in ways that they never have before. So I'm optimistic that we're going to get a good bill, and I'm optimistic that it's going to include a public insurance option.
All right.
And I think tonight the president is going to talk about why we need a public insurance option to keep the insurance companies honest and compete with them.
All right. Now, Roger, it's not fair to have you represent all of HCAN, too. I want the audience to understand that. And you're co-director of Campaign for America's Future, which is your group, right?
Yeah.
And so I do have one final question for you. If you had to do it over again and you're in charge, you're not part of a steering committee, but you know you're the guy that they turn to, would you have argued for single payer right from the get-go? Was there a big mistake by starting with the public option and having that seem like the left position instead of having single payer be a left position and maybe compromising towards a public option?
Hey, listen, there is a strong, vibrant, articulate, powerful single payer movement in this country. There are people who are organizing and showing up at congressional districts every day talking about single payer. We wanted to build a broader coalition that represented groups that didn't necessarily support single payer, but were willing to work their hearts out for real health care reform that could pass the U.S. Congress. So I'm glad that the single payer people are out there making a lot of noise. I had a huge respect for the way they did civil disobedience in the Finance Committee. And that's an important role for people who actually believe that we should outlaw the private insurance industry. I don't happen to be one of those people. I believe that it's possible to get the U.S. Congress to do a good, strong health care reform bill without outlawing entirely the private insurance industry, and that's what I've been about. Mm-hmm. You're right that pressure from farther left does help the Congress, and it has helped, I think, helped ensure that members of the U.S. House of Representatives have done a great job of standing solid in favor of good health care reform. Many of those people are advocates of single payer, but they've held together as a group that is much broader. A majority of the Congress and really impressive work by the Progressive Caucus.
That's a very interesting answer. I got a lot out of that, actually, and I really want to thank you for coming on, Roger. He's co-director for Campaign for America's Future and on the steering committee of HCAN. Thank you so much.
We'll all be watching the president and keep communicating with the White House. It really is important right now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.